Architecture is something that I always have thought about. My first memory was second grade when we were called up to write on the chalkboard about what we wanted to be when we grew up, and everybody was writing cowboys and firemen and policemen, and I wrote architect. I'm Dennis Ward from Florence, South Carolina. So I am the incoming president of the National Council of Architectural Registration Boards. Well, I went to school at Clemson University. I did my undergraduate studies there from 1975 to 79. Then my graduate studies were 80 and 81 for my master's degree in architecture. I went to Genoa, Italy, which was a program that the college had at that time, and spent a semester there studying architecture and touring Europe. I never really thought about the possibility of not being licensed. That was something that was always ingrained in us since we began our architectural studies at Clemson. My first job was an internship with Intergroup Architects out in Denver, Colorado. I had completed my overseas studies and finished my master's degree at Clemson, and just decided that I needed to move somewhere besides South Carolina at the time to experience other areas and other parts of life. I worked out there for about a year and a half, and then at that time, I had the opportunity to come back to this office for FW Architects. Here I found that there was an opportunity for me to provide architecture for those people who didn't necessarily have the funds for high-end architecture. But good architecture doesn't have to be expensive architecture, and this allows me that opportunity to create to that challenge. My parents were very good about encouraging this. They bought me every type of construction kit, Legos, Super Cities, Lincoln Logs, and my father even put together a canvas of a street scene of blocks and roads, and so my brother and I spent quite a bit of time building communities. FW Architects has been around in some form for over 35 years, and I've worked here for a good portion of that. Our firm specializes in K through 12 construction, higher ed facilities, religious and medical facilities. The city several years ago decided that they would take on a project of redeveloping the urban center of the community and designated it as an historic center. And so we've been very fortunate to work with some of the first people to begin that redevelopment, and have since been a part of that group that has been moving forward. Moore Middle School was a challenging project. The original school was a neighborhood school in the center of the city, and the school was going to be relocated out into the suburbs. So we had an opportunity to create something that didn't necessarily have to blend into a residential neighborhood. This was an opportunity for us to look at some new approaches to education, and also from the standpoint of security. One of the projects that we have here in Florence that we're very proud of is additions and renovations to the First Presbyterian Church in our community. However, what we wanted to do was create an addition that, while blending well with the tradition and blending well within the environment, also was forward-thinking and was inviting. And one of the parts of this project was the Welcome Center for prospective new members. Well, I had a wonderful opportunity to work with Francis Marion University in helping to design and construct the performing arts facility for the university. And I think that this is one of the first examples of things that showed that we can do that here in the PD area, and that it made a difference. When people go into the Performing Arts Center, they're just immediately amazed that this is something that's in our community of this size. I love being able to design and create, and I love the finished product and the fact that people are happy about having a space from which to work and play that they didn't have before. I hadn't really thought about representing the architects of South Carolina on our state board, but I was contacted one day by the governor's office and asked if I would serve on his behalf. And immediately upon my moving on to the board, I went to the first NCARB annual meeting in Seattle, Washington. And it was an amazing experience. And I realized for the first time that if I was going to represent my peers and the architects of South Carolina to the best of my abilities, I needed to get involved on a national level. As being president, I'm looking forward to being able to push some agenda items that I feel very strongly about. First, I'd like to continue forward with the additional path to licensure. This is something that I think is going to be a tremendous asset to our emerging professionals. The other is that wanting to create an ethics task force. I personally am very concerned about where ethics in architecture are today versus where they were when I started my career. I just feel like the profession has been so good to me. I've been very fortunate throughout my career that it's just something that I need to do to give back to the profession.